What's up, kitten cats? We are here today for part 2 of the contest prep Q&A with the boss man, Coach Nick Tong. If you guys missed part 1, I will make sure to put a link in the description box down below so you can go ahead and check that out. But again, to reiterate from part 1 with this video, I posted a Q&A on my Instagram for you guys to leave questions regarding contest prep, since I do have my prep coach Nick here with me. What we did, there were over 180 comments on the feed, so we just took, the most commonly asked questions, tried to condense them into the same, if not similar, similar, if not the same question, to kind of cover the most ground possible. We are going to get into part 2 today. So to start off, question number 1. What are the main differences between the divisions? So the differences between bikini, figure, physique, bodybuilding, all that jazz. Let's go.
Okay, so mainly it's levels of muscularity and leanness. The farther you get into it, the more muscular, more lean you're going to have to be. Now there's also a structure component to things as well. There's certain individuals you can just look at them and they're built for a certain division. Right. And something Emily and I were talking about is, a lot of people want to, for example, they want to do figure, but they might not necessarily be built for it.
Yeah, they don't have the actual frame for it.
Right, or they may not be able to gain the muscularity that's needed for that to be competitive, or they may not be able to get lean enough to be competitive. And you know what, at the end of the day, if you want to do it and you just about enjoying it, go for it. But you have to be realistic on those factors and understand that you may not ever place the way you want to place because of those uncontrollable variables. So.
Right. So people often, one of the questions that got asked a few times on the feed was, I keep getting told from judges that I should change from bikini to figure because I'm better suited for figure. Should I do it? So if you want to, like we talked about, like he said just briefly, if this is something you want to do recreationally, like if competing is something that you just do for fun, you just do it for you, then, I guess just stay in whatever division that you want to stay in. But if you're looking to, go hard, and if you want to go pro in something especially, then I would say follow, the judge's recommendation of where you'll be better suited.
Play to your strengths.
Yeah.
The muscle issue, like most females can gain the muscle they need to be in whatever division they want to through time. But one thing that I see, especially with females, is their ability to get lean. Especially when you go into like physique, there's some females that just can't get that lean. And that's not something you can overcome. Right. So that's a big determining factor.
Yeah. So. All right. Solid. Question number 2. This is a really commonly asked question. If you are interested in competing, should you cut first or should you build muscle first before you decide to compete?
Look at me. Well, if you have too much body fat, the first thing that you need to do before anything is determine a path to get that body fat off. Because from a physiological standpoint, you're not going to grow the way that's optimal if you have excess body fat. For guys, this is mediated through testosterone will aromatize into estrogen more if you have more body fat. Insulin sensitivity, this is both genders, is not where it needs to be. That's going to be the way that you partition mainly carbohydrates, but nutrients in general. And then beyond that, you can't see where you're improving. Right, and you can't see the same way where your muscle is being added to the same degree as if you had a little bit lower body fat. Right, and another issue is you do, and people hate to hear this a lot of times, but you do have to add body fat to gain muscle. Right. Yeah, you can't just add one. Right. Just like you can't just lose one. Yeah, if you try to do that, you might gain a pound of muscle tissue in a year. And that's not even worth it trying to stay the same body fat. So you have to do that. And so if you start overweight or too much body fat, it's just going to get worse. So the first thing is to get lean. But the issue is a lot of people will come to me and they don't have the metabolic, baseline to do that, to start a cut. So really, if you're in that sector, really the determining factor is where your metabolism is. If it's down regulated, you need to reverse diet, get that back up. Kind of sucks, you know, because people want to see the automatic visual changes. That's how they quantify results. But so it's hard for them to digest mentally. But you have to get that up to create a prolonged deficit to get that fat off.
Yeah, because you have to have something to cut from.
Right. Yeah. Now, if you come to me and you're eating like crap, then we'll try to push you, get some of the fat off.
Diet,
usually, you can, just clean it up and. But yeah, I mean that's a determining factor. Now, if you come to me lean and small, I mean obviously we're gonna grow. But the main thing is to look at where your metabolism is and then go from there.
And I don't know if you've noticed this, but I noticed this anecdotally in myself, and I just see it in especially beginners a lot. Obviously, losing fat and gaining muscle at the same time are not generally possible, but I would say in beginners, it's a lot easier. Yeah.
So if you're a beginner, just go in there and lift heavy.
Yeah.
Eat it about maintenance.
Yeah. And see what it is.
And play that out for as long as you can. And then once you kind of hit a wall, because that will slow down, unfortunately, and it will stop. Once you hit that wall, then you determine where to go from there.
Yeah. Like, question number 3. This is one that is also asked very, very frequently. Go ahead.
I guess that goes with people that are overweight too that haven't been in the gym.
Right.
Just go and go through maintenance first, because I mean you can build muscle and that can help your metabolic rate, and you can see a lot of positive shifts. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. And then another thing with that, like if you're not a beginner in the gym, I would say try and gauge based on your body type. Like if you're ectomorphic, or like if you've been a runner for a really long time, for example, like a distance runner for a really long time, like I would say you could probably go from a decent building phase if you are just very, very lean. But again, it's all individually based, I guess.
If you start small and lean, then of course you're going to want to gain muscle.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so question number 3, how long should you be in the gym before you consider competing?
I think you should be in the gym long enough to make substantial physical progress, to understand what it means to train hard and intensely. To be consistent with your nutrition.
To have it truly as your lifestyle.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because, again, I don't think people realize what's involved in a true prep. And so what, they see is romanticized on the stage. They only see the end result. They don't see what goes on behind it. And so they jump right in, and those 9 times out of 10, those people don't last.
Yeah.
So you really want to get involved in a lifestyle and actually do the physical work with, with decent time. I think also there's a mental component too, and that goes along with it. A lot of people aren't prepared mentally for what's involved in a hard diet. So you need to make sure that you understand, like, prep is going to be a time where there's going to be low energy, there's going to be hunger, and you have to be the type of person that can put off immediate gratification for that long-term thing. So that's people need to be mentally ready to prep.
Yeah, and you have to be able to be okay with those feelings. Like, you can't just sit and lament over those feelings day after day, like, oh, I feel so awful, because that's just going to make it harder on you.
Exactly, and the people around you, too.
So. You will have 0 friends. 0. I also wouldn't recommend, like, lifting for 2 months and being like, I want to do a show.
Yeah, you have to make physical progress. You have to have clay to be able to mold. There's people that have no muscle and try to go straight into prep, and that's bad for a multitude of reasons. First of all, their metabolism isn't going to respond the way we want it to. They're not going to have the muscle to look good. It's a lose-lose situation. So it's not exactly going with the question, but it goes along those same lines. So make sure that your external environment is supportive of you prepping before you start prep. Whether that's relationships or family or whatever, because if you do struggle with that on top of the rigors of prep day in and day out, even if you make it through it, 9 times out of 10 your results are not going to be optimal, and you're just going to freaking hate it.
Right, because it's still a stressor to your environment. That's another commonly asked question, is like, that's a plane. Is how do you do this lifestyle, if your friends or your family or your significant other isn't supportive, and it just makes it that much harder. Like, your support system is priceless.
Especially, I mentioned this because, it's a first time competing. So for a first time competitor, we want that experience to be as positive as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're not apt to do it again if it's not.
You only get one first show.
I mean, I won my first show. I probably wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't. So. I'd be a professional eater. So. I'd be eating hot dogs right now.
Pick the worst food to be a professional eater with.
Cheese dogs, homie. Cookies. There we go.
There, yeah. Be a professional cookie eater. That's so much better.
Well, hot dogs are common. That's what they use usually.
Hot dogs are lame.
But yeah, so make sure that your environment is set up to support you throughout your prep.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. Question number 4. Feelings about metabolic damage.
So if you just change that term to metabolic adaptations, that would be a totally fine term.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess to preface this, if you don't know what metabolic damage is, there's this, I guess if you want to give just like a brief description of what people think metabolic damage is, and then talk about
think that you
adaptation.
can permanently damage your metabolism to where it's going to be lower, than it was initially. You're going to
for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's a permanent state. The thing is, the body. You have to think of the body in terms of survival. When we didn't have food guaranteed, when you didn't have that energy coming in, your body would downregulate things, to ensure that you survived.
Right.
That includes thyroid hormone, which shifts certain hormones like ghrelin and leptin, stuff like that, and just really make it so the processes that were going on are ones that were crucial to survival. Even things like the amount that I'm sitting here moving my hands and stuff goes down.
Neat.
Yeah. So those are normal processes, and people don't realize that. And so I think, not to I'm throwing someone out of the bus. Lane coined the term.
And he's even come back to say that, like, I wish I wouldn't
nothing
use
against
the word
Lane.
damage.
I think that, but it put, it scared people, it was a buzzword, and it was a scary word, and people, left and right were thinking they were damaged. And, they were being,
like, ah!
If you do...
The fitness apocalypse of, like, 2013.
Yeah, it's crazy, but... and it also scares people from competing because they don't want their food to go low acutely.
Right. Right. That's the key word, though, is acutely.
Right.
People think that's forever too, but it's not.
Right. So if you do things properly post show, if you reverse that correctly, and I'm not even gonna go into reverse dieting. Some people think that it's
thumbs up if you want a video on reverse dieting.
Yeah, I'll do a whole video. But if you do it properly, those
hormones will restore.
Right. What I will say from a coaching standpoint, I have worked with people that I haven't gotten to respond. And I've talked to other top coaches, and they said the same thing. I mean, they work with people forever, and there's an issue of adherence. Some people just don't tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But there are probably 2 people that I've worked with that I think they were 100% adherent, and they just didn't get the results they need. And I think that
from the diet or from the reverse diet?
No, from the both.
Okay.
I mean, they gained fat when we reversed diet. They didn't really lose much fat when we tried to diet. And I think I see some commonalities in these people. They're people that have, chronically dieted for long periods of time, or they've yo-yo dieted, and they've done it since they were very young.
Yeah.
So if you, I'm going to nerd out, but there's something called epigenetics, where your genetics can change based on your environment.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, this is just me hypothesizing, but I think there's changes at the cellular and genetic level sometimes when you do it for that long that can be considered damage.
Right. Right, that are more permanent than...
Right. But what we're doing here when we're prepping for a show, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's one of the one of the main reasons why I always want to have a coach, because like if I just tried to do this myself, like when I was first starting out in fitness, like I think it's just very valuable to have someone that knows what they're doing handle you. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? What?
That's
There's
I
brought
the hat.
Yeah, he brought the hat. But yeah, no, that's part of one of the values of having a coach, is having somebody that can not only bring you into the show in an intelligent manner, but also bring you out of the show in an intelligent manner, because that after period is just as important, not only for setting you up for the next season, but for restoring things.
Yes, and I try to tell people this all the time, and they want to just do a prep with me and then go their separate ways.
No.
It's dumb, because honestly, like the period after a show it's a
so
weird period
crucial.
because it can you can either do some real bad damage as far as body fat gain, or you can do some really positive things as far as gaining lean tissue, because your body is sensitized to.
It's so primed. We've talked about this.
Exactly.
When you're immediately at the end of a diet, entering your growing period where you're in a caloric surplus, you are primed to grow. So you can make so many quality gains there.
Yeah. And the reverse is true. So.
Yeah. If you completely F it up, you can get real fat real fast.
Yeah.
And I see it happen.
Yeah.
A lot.
Absolutely. And I mean the bad thing is, I've seen people that have done diets and then come off and rebounded, and then go to diet again, and they look worse the second time because they've gained a bunch of fat, and they still haven't restored the muscle that was lost during that dieting period.
Yeah.
So I would highly suggest that you stay with a coach that, well, first make sure that coach is going to take care of you with a reverse diet, with a plan, post show. But I mean, at least, it depends on your prep length and your body, but I mean, at least 3 months maybe,
So in terms of the actual metabolic adaptation, like, yes, things go down, like your metabolic rate goes down, certain hormones go down, other hormones go up. Things just get really thrown out of whack, and like he said, it's normal. Because
such a scare word.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a scare word.
Yeah.
People, like, it's not as bad now, because I think people are starting to see, like, it is a scare word. But, like, when I was big, I would have people that would have a day of low energy and be like, being
My metabolism, I'm dying. I mean, like, think about it. Your body doesn't know the difference between you starving and you trying to look good for a bodybuilding show. Your body doesn't know the difference.
It doesn't know that we have food.
You know the
at
difference.
All, or just, but, it just thinks that, hey, we don't have energy coming in. So.
So it's a natural, it'll go down. And just like in terms of metabolic rate, that going down, think about it. You're a smaller person. It takes a lot less to keep you alive than it did when you weighed more. I mean, not a lot less, but it just takes less to keep you alive.
I don't know if we were talking about this, but I was talking to someone about this. From a scientific standpoint, the amount that you can downregulate your metabolism is a lot less than people think.
Yeah, it's very small.
But I will say that I think it's very person dependent, because I see people that get pretty stubborn. Metabolically, and some people we really don't need to adjust things much during prep. So I mean, that's just a general thought, but
I think that's the biggest takeaway with so many of these questions is it's individually variant. Because we are such different beings. But I forget who was it with Lyle when Jeff talked about this in a podcast, but like they were talking about how it's not metabolic rate that takes the biggest hit when you diet, it's actually your NEAT. Just because you feel full sloth all the time, like you don't want to do anything. But that is our little bit on metabolic damage, or rather adaptation. So question number 5, tips for cutting costs, finances, all that stuff, the financial burden of competing. So competing is a very expensive endeavor. I don't know if you would agree with this, but I would say especially for the females, just with regards to like the expensiveness of suits, of hair, of makeup, all that stuff. But regardless, it's going to be expensive. So just tips for cutting costs. First off, I guess I would say to preface, like before your first show, I know I made a specific budget for my show. I would say going into that show, I ended up spending more than I budgeted for, but don't expect to spend less than $1,000.
Be proactive about setting a budget out and doing your research on how much is going to be involved, because, again, this goes back to stress. Like, if you get halfway through and you don't realize, like, it's going to be more and you're stressing about funds, like, that's not going to be good. You need to be realistic about what's going to be involved.
Right, and there's some expenses that are inevitable. Your NPC card, you have to have that. Your tan, you have to have that. The entry fees for the show, you have to have that. A suit, you have to have that. You don't have to have, a $700 suit for your first show, but you have to have a suit of some kind. So, some financial tips from us.
Well, as far as the suit, though, too, I mean, there's some small things like the suit. You can rent a suit. Or a lot of girls exchange suits. It may sound kind of weird, but a lot of girls do that, you know, because it's not like you're wearing them every day.
Oh, exactly.
So, and then travel, like, If it's your first show, do a local show. Don't travel, because that's a huge expense with hotel and everything like that.
And that just makes it more comfortable for you, like being in the comfort of your own home, for sure. So it saves you money and you're more comfortable. Because then you don't have to spend the money on a hotel, you don't have to spend the money on a flight or gas to get there. You get to stay at home. It's a lot nicer. So yeah, not traveling.
Or if you do travel, find someone to stay with and split the cost.
Yeah, like if you, and say if you have like a team, if you're on a team, if you all get together to do, not all of you, but if like a group of you do the same show, if a few of you can each split a room, then you can split the costs that way. That brings the cost down a lot. What else? I would also say with suits, he mentioned like doing suit trades, but also like if you can buy a used suit. Actually, I saw somebody get their suit off of Poshmark, if you've heard of that, or people will sell their suits on like Instagram a lot of the time. Or if you know competitors, like if you meet competitors in your area, you know, ask someone, hey, do you have a suit that I could rent from you, borrow from you, whatever. You can do that as well. The less blinged out suits are going to be less expensive than the super jeweled ones just by default. For the girls, something that I do, and you have to be very comfortable with this, I do my own hair and makeup. I've gotten my makeup done one time for a show, and it was Junior Nationals last year, and it was $250 to get my makeup done, one for prejudging and finals. You could buy, like all of the makeup products that I use to do my makeup myself, I could buy for less than $250, and they last for multiple shows. So if you can teach yourself, you know, how to wield a foundation brush and some eyeshadow and some eyelashes and do your own hair, like save that money for sure. Trying to think of
there's another small thing, and this may be more so for guys just because our food volume is higher.
Yeah.
And I know I want people, it depends how you diet. Some people want to do a meal plan, some people want to do flexible dieting. And I understand people want to enjoy their food, and I think that's an intrinsic part of having a successful prep. That's why when I do diet plans, meal plans, I coordinate with that person. Make sure
find out what they like, what they don't like.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you can buy in bulk, a lot of things, buy things that are on sale. You know, if you're doing flexible dieting and you're doing turkey for a meal and chicken breast is on sale that week, swap it out.
Switch it.
And that, especially for guys, for like me, that can add up over the long run.
Yeah, because y'all have a higher protein requirement than females, just as, you can't really get out of that.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Minimize the amount of supplements that you use. So, like, you don't need to be on a stack of 30 different things to get on stage, especially not for your first show. Like, if you can get by on just your diet and your training without taking like any supplements, that saves you so much money. So much money.
And one supplement that you don't need, that I get asked pretty much all the time for people that are new competitors, are over-the-counter fat burners for the most part. It's a waste of money. I'll just put it like that. So
you don't need
if you're someone that needs, that feels you need to have those, you don't.
Yeah.
So
it's really. I haven't taken an OTC fat burner since Nom.
Some caffeine.
Since Nom. Caffeine and sweat are really solid fat burners.
Honestly, even for me, as far as supplements, it's just fish oil, and then as far as like performance supplements, it's creatine. Those
are literally like my two essential supplements.
Caffeine.
Yeah. Okay, caffeine's not even a supplement. That's my blood. Like.
IV all day. And then I take vitamin D because I have low vitamin D levels, but that's it. So.
Yeah, stick to the basics. Like, I know the supplement industry, and like, I'm a sponsored athlete with a supplement company. Like, I will tell you this, like, the supplement industry, it's sexy. Like, there's all these things that you can try. Find your bread and butter and stick to that, and don't try and throw a million things in there. Like, you don't need it. You just don't.
And some things are cool if you have the funds, like high volume. That's something, but it's not a necessity.
It's a cosmetic supplement.
It's not going to make or break you on stage. So.
Yeah. So, save money on supplements. Trying to think of what else you can save money on.
Go for deals. Like for me, I
thought you said gills, like fish gills. I was like,
get some gills. For me, I use a lot of protein powder, and a lot of times if you look on bodybuilding.com or something, they'll run specials, buy one get one free. That can save a lot of money.
So. Or even like looking at like the price per serving of getting like a larger tub versus a smaller tub.
Yeah.
Generally the larger ones, while the ticket price is obviously larger than the smaller ones, the price per scoop is lower for the larger container. Girls, with your shoes, the first pair of shoes that I ever got for a competition, I bought them on Amazon.
Strip heels.
Like,
You get them used?
pretty much.
No.
Yeah, look on Amazon. Like, they were literally $30. Like, doesn't get a whole lot cheaper than that for competition shoes. So just try and find little places where you can save money. And then the places that I would spend money, where I would be less trying to pinch pennies, coaching. Like, if you're going to get a coach, like, I'm more than happy to pay the money for a good coach.
She pays me. She does pay me.
But, for a good
Make it rain.
in cookies.
Make it rain. In cookies. Compost cookies.
But, yeah. Money on a coach. I would recommend getting tanned by a tanning company, not trying to do it yourself, especially for your first show, because that can go real
100%.
bad real fast.
Don't tan yourself. I tried one time. I think it was my second show, and I did it for about 5 minutes, and I booked a tan. I gave up. Literally, I did it for like 5 minutes. I was like, this ain't gonna work.
It's just a bad time.
Yeah.
And like, there's always that person on stage where you can tell their tan is just not, and you don't want to be that person, especially not for your first show. Like, you want to have a really great experience overall. You're coaching your tanning.
That's a big factor in your physique too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just like your tan not being dark enough or whatever, but like if your tan is splotchy, like because I judged for a while. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be looking at your physique. I'm going to be looking at your Dalmatian tan.
C-spot save. Target tan.
I mean, it's serious though. For real, people don't realize that.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference in your confidence as well. Like, if your tan looks like crap, you're going to be like, Yeah.
For sure.
So I would say, I mean, those are the two things that I think are really important to spend your money on, are your coach and your tan. Because other things you can kind of, like, hair, makeup, you can pinch pennies through. Your suit, you can pinch pennies. So it's like, okay. And then, our favorite question. This is the last question. Number 6. How to handle going off plan or cheating during your prep. Don't
do it. And if you're gonna do it, don't prep.
Yeah.
Because first of all, it's usually not just a one-time thing. It's people that struggle with it throughout prep.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, I mean, why would you do something that you're going to struggle through on a daily basis?
Right.
Again, I talk about putting off short-term satisfaction for the long-term thing. And even us, I mean, low energy hunger, we don't really enjoy, you know. But it's also a very big mental battle for someone. And it's around the clock.
Right.
You know, and it's just not something that you need to get on stage to validate your fitness.
Exactly.
You know?
If you struggle with staying, you know, on your diet or on your training schedule or whatever in a prep situation, you don't have to prep. You don't have to step on stage in order to be fit. You don't have to prove your fitness by stepping on a stage. Like, you can just live it as your lifestyle and have things be a little bit more lax.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, why spend, you know, well over $1,000 on a show to go kind of screw up your experience because you can't stick to your diet? Like, yes, we are all only human, but it's not worth it to cheat on your prep when you're putting all this into it.
I mean, something we were talking about, there is really, people can be, they can be molded to be mentally stronger, but I truly think that there is like a certain character that does well in this endeavor. I mean, like you and I were talking about, we would never ever even think of doing that.
Right. So when people ask us that question, it's like,
our head, you know?
It's like, why would you?
And again, it's not us like being better than anyone.
Yeah, that's not a superiority complex. It's just a mental hardwiring.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't make you a bad person if you aren't that way. Like, that doesn't make you less worthy of life. Yeah. It just means that maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just how it is. Like, yeah, you're gonna get hungry, but you have to be able to accept that and say, okay, I'm hungry, but I don't need to eat everything right now.
Yeah.
And if you can't contextualize that way, then
do what you enjoy.
Yeah, find something else.
Do what you enjoy.
Yeah.
That's all it boils down to.
But I will say...
Eat some cookies. Eat some cookies for me while I'm
have one for me.
Please do.
Have like a dozen for me.
I'm the big guy. I should eat a dozen.
I'm the little guy. I need the dozen.
Touche.
Anyway. But I will say if you do... And this is just like a general, like if you're trying to diet, even if it's not for a show, and you go off of your whatever set plan, don't be hard on yourself. Don't sit and harp on it, because the more you harp on it, I think the more likely you make yourself to do it again.
Because you feel crappy about it.
Because you feel guilty.
That's where you go.
Yeah.
I laugh, but it is bad.
It's a vicious cycle once it starts, so don't be hard on yourself. But with that, I think that we as people are very bad at dealing with, feeling guilty or feeling ashamed or whatever, so we try and hide from it. But if you have, and this goes for any deleterious behavior, if you have a behavior that's like not a good habit or not a good practice, you need to be able to admit to that. So like if you're somebody that like binges on food all the time, you need to be able to like get to that point where you're in that moment and you can realize that you're engaging in that behavior and like remove yourself from the situation. Think, oh wait, I'm about to binge on food. Like literally say it out loud to yourself and then figure out something else. Because chances are it's not just because you're hungry. It's because there's something else going on.
Take a step back from your emotions.
Yeah, you need to be able to, and that goes for a lot with contest prep.
That's what I was just going to say.
You have to be able to detach emotion from your prep.
Many things, absolutely. So
you have to be able to remove yourself from the situation, like look at it outside and then move forward from there. And then if it does happen, you need to think to yourself, okay, this happened, but it's in the past, so I can't change it. I can just do better from here on out.
It's kind of ironic. I even do this because I prepped myself my last prep, and it was the first time since my initial 2 shows. And even then, I had someone watching over me the last couple weeks. But a good tip that a lot of other prep coaches use and that I utilize for this prep is imagine I'm someone else and I'm prepping myself. When I look at progress pictures, when I look at weight, etc. I step outside my emotions and,
And that's one big thing that you've taught me with weight is becoming completely objective with it. And I know that's something that females in particular struggle with a lot. Like, females will freak out, I've noticed more than men, over fluctuating half a pound within a day. And that's nothing to freak out about.
Right. So many acute variables with weight.
Yeah. So you have to be able to detach that emotion from the scale, from your pictures, from whatever. Even if with your pictures it means cutting your own head out of your progress picture so it doesn't look like you.
Yeah.
So that you can't see your face, so that you can look at it a little bit more objectively. I definitely think that detaching emotions from weight, from how you're looking, from even your training sessions. I used to get really emotional during training sessions in preps past, like if I wasn't feeling good. Like my last prep, there were multiple training sessions that I just bawled through, and I had a terrible prep last time. And I just don't do that anymore. So like learning to detach emotion, or even from like your food. Like I know a lot of people get attached to their food intake and they get like emotionally downtrodden when their food goes down.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You just have to accept that your food's gonna go down.
Yeah.
So like,
absolutely.
Yeah, the less emotionally invested in this you can be, which is hard because you're putting in a lot of work, but the less emotion you can invest into those things, the better off you're going to be.
And the food thing kind of goes back to, I encourage people and I want people to be a little bit more relaxed during the off season so that when prep comes, food is a tool first and foremost.
Right, and you're mentally ready
for
to do that
situation.
As well. Yeah. You have to be ready to accept that you're not going to be eating as much.
Yeah.
You kind of
Too bad.
You can't get away from that. Sucks. But you will have cookies one day.
Yes.
Like,
one day.
And that's, I guess that's another good tip to like not cheating on your diet is you have to be able to, again, that being able to remove yourself from the situation becomes important. But when you are able to remove yourself from the situation, you have to tell yourself, okay, maybe I can't eat exactly what I want to eat right now. Like if you want cheesecake right now, but you can't eat it, you have to be like, okay, I can't eat this right now, but there will come a time in the future when the prep is not here anymore and I can.
And that's a crucial ideology to keep in mind after the show too.
Yeah.
Because what I see is people going just go crazy, and again, the food's going to be there the whole off season.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a crucial time again to set yourself up successfully.
Yeah.
So while I don't tell people not to go out and, you know, have some food. People just are manic with it. You know, go overboard.
Don't just shove food in your mouth to the point where you're not even tasting it anymore.
And a lot of people learn the hard way. Yeah,
I know I did after my first show.
Yeah, but there are people that have that trigger. It's hard for them to really, even if they feel like crap after that, they still do it.
Especially when hunger hormones are screwed up. It's harder to listen to them in that initial phase because they're screwed up. But that's where it's on you to really try and be as in tune with your body as you can.
And that kind of ties in as far as hormones. Being able to really step outside yourself when you're evaluating and being objective, because your neurotransmitters will change as you get leaner, as you diet down. Your brain chemistry will change, and you're going to be more emotional. You're more apt to be emotional. So you really have to strengthen that. You know, that side of yourself.
And that's why the mental aspect of this sport is so important. You have to be very, very strong up here.
This is 99% mental.
Yeah.
You get that down and the physical will come.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's about all we got for you for this part 2 of the Q&A. We will definitely be coming back at you guys with more collaborations soon, so give this video a thumbs up if that is something that you would like to see. But that is it for today. Thank you guys for joining me, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.
Later.